Welcome to the Ringer NFL show. Just kidding. This show is called 3 and Out. I'm Tate Frazier. This is Ringer writer Kevin Clark. This is Ringer podcaster and just Ringer video superstar, Mr. Mike Lombardi.
Yeah.
And we're here to talk about the NFL. And this is going to be a show that we're going to be doing every week that we know of. We'll see how long it lasts, especially with me as the host. But who knows? And now we're going to start this thing out. Tell me something I don't know is a segment where you're going to tell these people, these fans, something that they do not know about the NFL right now.
Okay.
And first, Kevin Clark, tell us something that we don't know.
So I think in the 2017 NFL season, we don't know a lot. We could be here for hours and hours. We don't know a lot of things about the NFL right now because it's just a weird year. I think the biggest thing from my perspective is the AFC sort of power structure right now with the Patriots and the Steelers. And I want to hone in on one particular part of it because I think people see those teams as equals. They're already talking about that late season matchup, which will maybe determine home field between the Patriots and the Steelers. And I think there's a flaw that the Steelers have that everybody's overlooking. We saw it a little bit on Sunday night. It's that the Pittsburgh Steelers are giving up more 50-yard touchdowns than any other team in the NFL. Specifically, they've given up 6. 5 of them have come since week 8. What happened in week 8? Joe Hayden went out. I think we kind of overlooked the addition of Joe Hayden. He was kind of a joke towards the end in Cleveland. He had that huge contract. They got him into the fold in Pittsburgh. He was better than we think. At this point, the Pittsburgh defense, I still like it a lot, but that secondary cannot give up those big plays because, by the way, if you go play Tom Brady, they're going to carve you up. The Patriots defense has gotten so much better. If those two teams play, I think the Patriots are really going to be able to exploit them. That's what I'm looking at right now in the NFL.
I'm going to miss Joe Hayden in the Cleveland Cavaliers draft room. You know, always liked him in the game room.
Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah, wow, that's tough. Mr. Lombardi,
Yes,
what do we not know?
I hear all this talk about the Chiefs. And look, the Chiefs have started out really fast, right? So they had this great, oh my God, the Chiefs, Alex Smith's going to be the MVP of the league, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, all these great things. And then all of a sudden they fell flat. They played Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh played zone defense against them. They played cover 2, and now Alex Smith has reverted back to where he was. He started out at the beginning of the year, averaging over 9 yards per pass attempt. Now he's back down to 6 in the month of November.
He's back to Alex Smith.
He reverted to the mean, which most people do. Sure. I mean, Carson Palmer had that one great year. He reverted back to his normal thing. But to me, the number one thing for the Chiefs, the answer isn't Patrick Mahomes. That's not the answer. The answer is we got to figure out how to run the football more effectively. And when you look at the Chiefs over their last 5 or 6 games, their lack of ability to run the football and control the line of scrimmage, it starts with their offensive line. Kelce is a wide receiver. See, this is where I think we all get messed up. When you have a spread formation all the time and Kelce is really a receiver, you have a hard time having a strong side running game. Yeah. And all the toss cracks that they were running earlier, when against man coverage, they work. Against zone, they don't work. So the running game for the Chiefs has really been the issue. So no matter who plays quarterback, if they can't run the football more effectively, they're not going to be able to overcome. And their defense, which has never been good other than creating turnovers, has now been exposed a little bit more because what the Chiefs are really good at was staying on the field on third down. They're not anymore. So for me, I think Mahomes would make them go from bad to worse as opposed to just trying to fix the running game. And I think that's what people should focus on.
Yeah. What's really interesting about that, Kareem Hunt was on pace to smash records for forced missed tackles, eluding tackles, all of that stuff. It's so easy to get him into space, and they haven't been doing it. And I've just been really frustrated at that, just from a football observer standpoint, the fact that it's just so simple to put Kareem Hunt in positions where he's going to succeed, and they haven't done it the last couple of years.
And I think what people forget is that football is really not that complicated. There's only 2 formations in football. There's either 2 receivers to one side or 3 receivers to one side. It's either 3-by-1 or 2-by-2. If they go empty, then it gets – so what happens is now that the Chiefs have done all their machinations of all their magician stuff, that people just have reduced it to 2-by-2 or 3-by-1. And when they're in 3-by-1 and Kelce's going to have to block, you can't crack anybody. It has to be all angle blocks, so they crack and replace. And the Chiefs' running game, because they're tackles, I know they paid Eric Fisher a lot of money. I know they paid Mitchell Sports a lot. They're not very good up front. They can't block anybody long enough, and I think that's affected
And
Smith.
if you're upset with the Chiefs and Kareem Hunt, what's going on with his team and Andy Reid, be sure to tweet at us, #NFL.
Yeah.
Actually, #RingerNFL. If you just tweet #NFL, the NFL will just see it. All right, and then I have mine. I'm going to tell you something you don't know. And what you don't know is that the Seattle Seahawks, I don't know if you guys are going to agree with this, they're not making the playoffs.
Oh, boy.
All right, let's move on to our next segment.
Wait. We're not going to let you off the hook there.
Well, look.
Why aren't they making it? Give us a
They're
reason.
7-4. They've got a pretty nice lead. In the wild card race.
If they beat Philly this week,
There's one man, Cam Chancellor.
Yeah.
I've always believed in this man.
Sure.
To take them to the distance. He's not there. I don't care about Sherman going out. I cared about Cam Chancellor, and without Chancellor, I don't think that they're a legitimate team.
I think
Eagles
that's
might
fair.
blow them out. I'm just saying that. Philly fans,
Is
they love
that a betting tip there? Or is you going to take?
No. Please don't bet on anything
You
I
advise
say.
gambling?
No.
Yeah. So, real quick on that one, Russell Wilson is accounting for more yards of the Seahawks offense than any player in NFL history. The guy whose record he's going to break over a full season is John Kitna. Okay, that's not a good sign.
No,
I think that beyond Cam Chancellor, I think just the idea that on the offensive side of the ball, it's Russ Wilson or bust, then that's a really big problem. However, I don't see any NFC teams taking the spot.
Come on, Detroit.
Come on.
I don't see Detroit doing it, but
I want the
I
Lions.
think that's a valid point. I think really, have we all seen enough of Eddie Lacy? Like
Yes,
we've been
that's
talking
enough.
about it on
I'm
GM
tired of
Street.
seeing him fall down.
I mean, like the guy gains 1 yard, and they keep running the ball to him on 3rd and 1. He can't even
1
get
yard
back.
is a stretch. It's usually 3 or 4 behind the line.
Yeah,
Maybe he runs 1 yard.
But
just
I
falls
think
down.
what the most alarming thing about Seattle, if you're a Seahawks fan, is the Legion of Doom, the field where you dominate everybody. You've lost 2 games. You barely beat the 49ers in another game. And Indy had you the lead at halftime on you. So in 4 games, you haven't played to the level. So if you're Philadelphia, you're going up there saying, okay, this isn't really a hard place to play anymore because the team isn't good. When you lose at home, like Kansas City loses at home, they usually don't do that. That, to me, is an indication that you're not as strong as a football team. So I buy what you're saying. I think if they lose to Philadelphia this week, which I think they will, I think it's over with. But I'm going to give them 1 more week.
And the reason I said that is because we have another segment coming up, and it's called Terrible Takes. And some would say that might have been a terrible take by me. I would just say, stop talking to me. This is called Terrible Takes, and the whole point is we've been sending out, to all the listeners out there, and we wanted to know what your worst takes are.
We can generate our own terrible takes, but we want to hear some other terrible takes.
We want to hear your takes that are terrible, and you've been sending them in. This doesn't mean that you necessarily believe these things. It just means that you think they're terrible, and you want to say it to the world. First up, we have Mason McPhee at Mason Jar, which is an unbelievable name, Mason McPhee or Mason Jar, whomever you are. And he says, at Ringer, Julio Jones is overrated.
Oh, gosh.
Who wants to take this terrible take? Kevin, tell us why that's a terrible take.
Well, I guess I can't just say no. I have to go beyond that. Julio Jones was, I had not seen this take before 5 seconds ago, but I just, there are a million arguments you can go. Here's one. There are 13 players in history who've gotten perfect Pro Football Focus grades for a game. Julio Jones did it on Sunday. Okay, 99.9. He is a force. He has made Matt Ryan's career in a lot of ways. Matt Ryan is a good quarterback. Without him, he won the MVP. With Julio Jones, that's just the way it is. He has basically opened up an offense in the sense that, they were going 4 and 5 wide last year and this year, and guys were getting open because of the existence of Julio Jones. I mean, Julio Jones is a force. He is, I saw someone tweet earlier that Cam Newton might be the LeBron James of football. That's a bad take. Julio Jones, if you look at just the impact, might be the LeBron James of football.
Yeah, did Mike Smith, is that really Mike Smith's handle? Because Mike Smith obviously this week
It might be a burner account.
Yeah, Mike Smith burner's account, because he must think he's overrated because he gave 253 yards up to him without saying, hey, we should double Julio Jones. I think it's really hard. In the NFL, it's one of the most difficult things that people understand is there's really about 3 or 4 number 1 receivers. There's not very many number 1 receivers. I mean, you think you have one, but you really don't.
Well, you got Jarvis Landry.
Now, he's not a number 1 receiver, okay? You can't be a number 1 receiver and average under 10 yards a catch. So I think that Julio is a legitimate number 1, and when the coverage has to go to him, I mean, what people realize is that, and it was on the game last night, all this 3-by-1 formation where the best player, like last night, the best player, Hopkins, was away from 3-by-1. That allows the quarterback to determine is he getting doubled or not. It reads the coverage for him. And when you have a player like Julio that you can read the coverage based on his alignment, it makes the game so much easier for everybody else. And I think that's why you can't say he's overrated, because he's one of those guys on Tuesday, unless you're Mike Smith, you got a game plan against. And when you get to the Tuesday player, then it's really good.
Next up, we have Art Vandelay. Not Mandalay, Vandelay.
I love it.
And he says, at Ringer.
Is he a latex salesman?
I hope so. I hope he's good. This is Vandelay Inc., actually, is his handle. So he's got his own company. At Ringer, Phillip Rivers is the best quarterback from the 2004 draft class. I'm going to throw this to you, Lombardi. Is this a valid take? That's what we're
I
looking
think
for.
it is.
Validity.
I think it
here.
is. I think it is. I think Phillip Rivers has been in an unfortunate situation, but I think Phillip Rivers really, if you redraft again, Phillip Rivers goes to the New York Giants, they win as much as they won with Eli.
Well, I would say more.
They probably win more. I mean, if he goes to Pittsburgh with Pittsburgh's players there, I mean, Ben's ability to make loose plays. But I think Phillip Rivers is really a player that has been in a bad situation at times. As the teams decline, he's gone through a bunch of coaches. He hasn't had a lot of stability at times out there. Pittsburgh obviously has all the stability. The Giants typically don't. So I don't think that's an outrageous take at all. I think you can make a stand, and I think that it's true.
So there's a couple things here. Number one, I think you look at Ben Roethlisberger, who was put, especially in the early part of his career, in the best situation maybe in the history of rookie quarterbacks. And in that 15-1 season, Dak Prescott maybe surpassed him in that regard. But, I mean, he's been in a very stable situation, had a lot of talent around him. I think Roethlisberger is very talented. And then you look at the Giants. You know, they happened to be able to beat the Patriots because they had a great four-man rush. They were just, you know, they were the perfect franchise to win 2 Super Bowls, essentially. Eli was put in a great situation. There are many, many reasons why Phillip Rivers was not put in a great situation. When he had Tomlinson, that was a great situation. But since then, he's been behind 4 points for basically the entirety of his career since Tomlinson retired. And so I think that when you look at what he's accomplished with the surrounding pieces, with the franchise instability, the bad coaches, the bad GMs, no great player has had it worse from that group than Phillip Rivers. And so I think if you put him in Pittsburgh or you put him with the Giants, he's a better fit than those two players.
All right, next up we have Cabs, K-A-B-S, not with a C, not a yellow car. And he says, at Ringer, the Giants should keep Ben McAdoo. Kevin, please talk to this man. Is this valid? Should they keep him?
No. I have. No, it's not valid. But I do have a way you should keep him. If you're going to go full Cleveland Browns and just process it. You're already going to get a top 10 pick this time. So next year, you just run it back again. You go 2-14. You get another top 10 pick. All of a sudden, you're the Browns. But that's why you keep Ben McAdoo. If you want to do it. If you want to win, you get him out of town immediately.
Look, I think Ben McAdoo got the job for a couple factors. The general manager, Jerry Reese, really wanted to have a new head coach. He was tired of Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin kind of was a very strong influence. He needed his own coach. He hires McAdoo because Eli wants him, because Odell Beckham wants him, and because they felt like they were going to be this explosive offense with this genius offensive coordinator and who has this enormous play sheet, the Cheesecake Factory, which we're not sure because they run D-slant mostly every play, okay? He has, so the reality of it is that what he was hired for, he can't deliver on. And the team never gets better. I think the way to evaluate coaches in the NFL is what happens one week doesn't happen the next week. And with McAdoo, unfortunately, what happened last week happens again the next week and the next week, and you're going nowhere. And I think if you're going to change the culture of the Giants and you want to rebuild your team, you better start with a good young coach.
They've never scored 30 points under Ben McAdoo as head coach.
But they did when he was the OC. So there's this whole thing called the Peter Principle.
Right.
So, and I think that literally shows that that he's in a job that he's really not qualified to handle. And it's a hard job. I mean, there's no school you go to learn to become a head coach. He's a little over his head.
You got to be a CEO to be a head coach, as they say. Now we have James Beard, who chimes in, and he's at Beard Jam, in case you want to look him up. He says, at Ringer, here's a bad hot take. He took it a step further, not even bad hot take. I like it. Jeff Fisher just needed an offensive coordinator.
We talked about this yesterday briefly. I do think there's a case to be made that if Jeff Fisher, we talked about it yesterday, had just hired Sean McVay away, given him a Godfather offer and said, you don't work for the Redskins anymore.
Head coach in waiting.
Head coach in waiting, all that. McVay would have done some of this stuff, the play action, using, bunching up the receivers, using rub routes, really creative stuff. And I'm not saying that the Rams would have been amazing, but I'm saying that they would have improved on offense. They already have that good defense. So I think Fisher would have taken a step up. And so Jeff Fisher, we know now, is a horrible coach. And I think that offensive coordinator was...
Hope you're not watching, Jeff.
I hope you are. I mean, how can
I'm
you
on his
argue?
side, Kevin. I'm
he had
sorry.
Case Keenum and Jared Goff last year, and he was the worst offense in the NFL. Okay, so but I think that offensive coordinator was part of Fisher's identity. He wanted these weak, conservative offensive coordinators. So I think it's sort of it's sort of a false premise to say, oh, he needs an offensive coordinator. Would McVay, a McVay type, have improved Fisher's teams? Yes, but he was never going to hire one of those guys.
Yeah, when he was in Tennessee and he had Mike Heimendinger and he had Steve McNair, they were explosive offensively. They could do a lot of, they were creative. They did a lot of things. And he let Heimendinger kind of run the program, and he let Jim Schwartz run the defensive program, and he took a step back. But I think what happened when he took that step back, Jeff kind of took a step further and further back. He got away from the game a little bit. And we talk about the money spoiling players, right? Yeah. This guy's got a new contract. I think sometimes coaches get spoiled by the wealth of the profession, and they lose that appetite. The one thing about Belichick is, no matter how much they pay him, he loves it. And I mean, he's working every single day. He's going to outwork everybody in the building. Not sure Jeff was outworking everybody in the building. And I think that's the problem. Now, I think it was deeper than just an offensive coach.
He was buying a lot of sunglasses.
He's fishing in Montana. I mean,
that's about all we know.
Look, I think there was an evolution of this game that changed dramatically. And I think where Sean McVay's done a great job is Sean McVay's calling the play at the line of scrimmage. We saw this in the Houston game when they mic'd him up, right? So he's actually replaced the quarterback. I'm not sure that clock, that thing's being shut off at 15 seconds. And I think he's putting him in the right play. I think it was a horrible idea for the Rams to let that out, because if I'm playing the Rams going forward, I don't change my defense until it's 14 seconds on the play clock. So I don't let McVay look at my defense. But I think that's where I think the game has changed. It's all at the line of scrimmage, and Jeff really hasn't adapted.
Yeah, and we know Jared Goff isn't calling those audibles at the line of scrimmage. We know Sean McVay is.
No, he's not. And Sean McVay has made Jared Goff look very effective because he's made a guy who's a 7-on-7 quarterback have a quick read and throw the ball to him. I mean, but when they've played good coordinators that could take it away, it's been a little bit of a problem. And I think it's more about that line of scrimmage calling.
But that's the key to this league now, is taking these 7-on-7 athletes and turning them into NFL athletes.
It's the only way, because Parcells had this statement one time: we can only take what the college gives us, right? So the college has given us 7-on-7 quarterbacks. I mean, that's the way it is. And so McVay, I didn't think Goff would be nearly as good as he is this year. I thought Goff was a bust completely. He's played way better than I thought he would, because I didn't think he could throw the ball in rhythm, and McVay has gotten him to do that. And I think what McVay's done is taken first down and turned it into the best down, whereas the Jeff Fisher offensive model was get 3 yards on first down.
And second and third down.
And it's also good. Todd Gurley runs for like 9 yards on first down pretty much every time. We found this tweet on the internet. This was not tweeted at us. This is from Pete. His handle is Draft Cheat, and he says, this could be a troll. We don't know if he's being for sure, but we had to ask the question. He said the Packers are going to have a very tough decision to make if and when Aaron Rodgers returns, period. Brett Hundley playing fantastic football, says Pete.
Mike, you've been passionate about this.
Is this valid?
Well, I mean, Collinsworth said the other night on television. I mean, he thought that the Packers wouldn't have played any better if Hundley was in the game, if Rodgers was in the game.
I wish Favre was in the game.
Yeah, so do I.
You, Brett.
Look, I think Brett Hundley is a 7-on-7 quarterback. I think he stares it down.
Yep.
I'm not sure we're watching the same game, this guy here and I, because the game I'm watching, Hundley's not even a really good backup, because nothing comes quickly with him. Nothing makes it happen. And yeah, he had a couple good drives against a zone defense that he could read it out. And I just don't think he's going to play fast enough.
I also think that, going back to what I said earlier about the Steelers secondary and their ability to give deep plays, I think some of those plays were just simply the Steelers secondary has no idea what they're doing in some spots right now.
It's really tough. Ringer NFL, please tweet at us. We actually had some celebrity viewers here. We have Joe House, and he says,
oh my gosh.
Will at Mike Lombardi NFL's head pop off his shoulders when my Deadskins franchise Kirk Cousins for a third straight year? What do you got to say?
I don't think they have any choice. I mean, I don't think they have any. I mean, drinks are going to be on Kirk Cousins for the next 20 years. I mean,
he doesn't have money to buy the team at this point.
I mean, do they have any choice?
That's what I said. Yeah. Let him do it.
I mean, they have no choice. I mean, it's either this or Andy Dalton. I mean,
yes,
what do you
Andy
want?
Dalton. Bring
what do you want?
The Redheads.
I mean,
Case Keenum.
You could sign Case Keenum, but I mean, if you're Jay Gruden, and he's got to be in there saying, look, I mean, this is all because Bruce Allen, the general manager of the Redskins, thought he could outsmart Kirk Cousins, his agent. This is really what it's been a battle of negotiations. Like, the guy's never going to play this good, so we'll just franchise him. And then I'll send him this ridiculous offer with the title of the Sonny Jurgensen offer. This is what Allen does all the time. He labels all his offers based on former players and sends it to the agents. The agents read it and say, no, we're not doing that deal. That's a dumb deal. And now he's trapped. Now he's trapped. So House, he's completely trapped.
Why would you market it as a Sonny Jurgensen? It's not like Sonny Jurgensen
That's his shtick. It's his
wealth.
So anytime he would send a proposal to an agent, he would label it based on a former player and send it to him. So he's the Sonny Jurgensen offer or the Billy Kilmer offer, like that, that's going to entice the agents. And look, the fact is they called his bluff.
Kirk Cousins wants to see the Matthew Stafford offer, not the Sonny Jurgensen offer.
Right, but he's going to want to see that plus because he's going to get 144% of his current salary. Right?
God bless you, Kirk Cousins.
And then here's
I'll work for you.
Here's the best part about this with nobody's is that after next year, they can't do anything with him. So it's checkmate for the Redskins.
Drew Brees. That's how Drew Brees made his money. Just kept getting franchised.
Yes. Ringer NFL, tweet at us. Bill Simmons says, and this is directed to you, Lombardi, as well, if you bet on a Bortles-Flacco round one playoff game, does that mean you have a gambling problem?
Yes, it completely does. Because I think Flacco has now entered the Bortles zone. I mean, DB Flacco, he has entered the Blake Tannick zone. I mean, that was as bad. Do you realize that Jameis Winston has more touchdown passes than DB Flacco has? Do you realize this?
I do.
Do you realize that, and Winston hasn't played in, over a month? Okay. Do you realize that Deshaun Watson has more touchdown passes than DB Flacco? I mean, that is and last night was amazing because
Where's the money, Flacco?
We're trying to pretend.
Are you trying to get the money back?
From DB Flacco. Where's the money back?
We're trying to pretend that Flacco is really going to just turn it on. And I've made this mistake, right? I've thought, okay, eventually, no, it ain't there.
So Joe Flacco.
DB Flacco.
DB Flacco is the first player in NFL history to have 10 games in his career in which he had under 4.5 yards per attempt on over 30 attempts. You know what that means? That means that they just do nothing but pass, and they pass short, and then they don't get any yards after catch. It's almost impossible. If any of us were behind the line of scrimmage calling these plays, we would be able to complete longer than a 6-yard pass. He has these bad receivers. He doesn't make them better. Bad tight ends. He doesn't make them better. I mean, I just don't know what Joe Flacco is doing at any point. And the worst part is, I was at training camp, and I saw the Ravens offense when Flacco was out and they had Ryan Mallett. It was worse.
Right.
So, I mean, Flacco actually makes that
at least
offense.
Ryan Mallett showed up. Good for him.
Yeah, he woke up that morning. Yeah, exactly.
That what you said is so true. So quarterbacks are like boxers, right? And the reason I'm so hung up on yards per attempt is because quarterback's eye level is the most significant factor you can look. And that stat tells us about their eye level. So when their eye levels are up the field and they can see down the field and they're not worried about what the left guard's doing or what the right tackle's doing, they're going to throw it down the field. Flacco, because of his back injury, and I'm going to get him off a DB because of his back. He's worried about his health. He knows.
Got to stop jumping out of airplanes.
He knows the left tackle didn't set right. He's worried about getting hit, and so his eye level's down, and so the ball's a hot potato in his hand. He just checks it down, and that's why you have such a low yards per attempt. And that's not to excuse Marty Morningwig and that offense, which is atrocious, which is completely bad. Because every running play that they run, they don't have a pass attached to it. Like, it's the most maddening thing I've ever seen. Like, if you want to be a good play action team, you run a run, and then you build a pass off the play action. The Ravens don't.
There's a Pro Football Outsiders, statistic called failed completions. And it's essentially where you get less yards than you need on a given play. Joe Flacco has broken the record twice in NFL history. He's that quarterback.
He's also a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
He's also rich as hell.
Yes, exactly. Next up, from Chauncey Talese, if you were Jerry Jones, who would you replace Jason Garrett, a.k.a. the Clapper, with? That's what they're asking. Who's the replacement?
Kevin, go first, please.
Wow. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of candidates. I mean, at this point, would Sean Payton want to? I mean, Sean Payton's been trying to get out for 3 or 4 years at this point. I mean, would that be an option, Lombardi?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're willing to trade a draft pick to the New Orleans,
that's it. Yeah,
I think you can have Sean Payton.
The thing I've always heard is that anybody who offers legitimate compensation can get Sean Payton. I mean, he has the Dallas connection. He still has a home in Dallas. That whole thing.
I think if you could, I mean, look, Jerry has always loved John Gruden. And the John Gruden rumors aren't going to stop until he takes a job, and so. I think that could happen. And just for the record, I want to be on the record because Cousin Sal indicted me the other night at a restaurant that I was screaming and yelling about the Clapper. I want to be on record. I wasn't yelling. I was just talking.
He said that everyone in the restaurant was listening to you yell about the Clapper.
That was not true. That was completely untrue. That was not completely. But if I'm Jerry.
Check the tape.
If I check the tape, exactly. If I'm Jerry, you have to find somebody who's going to enhance the offense. And I would keep Marinelli on the defense because they have a complementary defense. But the Clapper isn't going to cut it. It would have to be one of those type of guys for me to cash him in. But Jerry's on record as saying Jason won Coach of the Year last year. Like, that really actually means something.
I would trade Ezekiel Elliott for Sean Payton.
Would this be if,
I don't know if that's possible.
If the Cowboys job opens up, would this Gruden rumor be the first ever legitimate Gruden rumor?
I think it would, because Jerry loves Gruden. I mean,
Yeah.
so you have to look. Jerry's not a hard guy to figure out. He loves certain kind of people. He hired Bill Parcells to help his son Steven learn about everything and kind of tie his organization together. Jerry's a problem solver, and if he felt like it's going to be, he could solve the problem with a really good offense. Because Gruden has worked for Al Davis, so working for Jerry is similar to working for Al Davis in the sense that, the owner's going to be involved, right? And he's going to be completely involved. And Gruden could come in and basically just be the offensive coordinator. Marinelli was on his staff before they won a Super Bowl together. It makes sense to me.
What about Gruden for NFL commissioner? What if that's Jerry's next hire?
I could look. It's his hometown, so every place. Gruden's like Tennessee's my hometown, Ohio State's everywhere.
All right. Well, this has been fun, guys. Ring Your NFL. Keep tweeting at us. We're going to come right back and play a fun game called Connect the Dots right after this.
This right here is better than the Charger Stadium.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Hey, guys, I wonder why print is dying. You think? Zoom in on the cops here who are keeping people safe. It's Batman!
I'd like to send Mitch Trubisky immediately to Littlefinger's brothel. I gotta say, I think he'd be a good hang for Tyrion.
Is this show for anybody, this Young Sheldon show? Is anyone going to enjoy this?
Who's the ideal guest?
I am. Stop signing Brandon Whedon.
Oh, it's too high. Okay, we got more. Several times. You gotta try to get it.
You are like Trubisky right now.
Rex Ryan in the booth. Cut that laugh out. That was a tough laugh. The Gettysburg Address was the original call for effort. Lincoln was the original Ben McAdoo. She was 16 years old. And Bruce Wayne.
No, lost it.
Oh, you're done.
Welcome back. This is not Terrible Takes. It's called Triple Option.
The whole show could be called Terrible Takes if you wanted to.
3 and out. Triple Option, 3 and out. Either way.
Yeah, look, they're following your lead.
I know. Look, 3 and out. We will say this. We're going to play a fun game. It's called Connect the Dots. And the whole point of this game is I have 2 boxes. See the 2 boxes? I'm going to pull out a name, and then I'm going to pull out a scenario. And it's your guys' job to connect the dots between the 2. Well, first, I'm going to start with the name. Drum roll, Tanya, nothing? Okay, that's all right. First up, our boy, Ben McAdoo is the name.
Love it.
The scenario. Whew, I'm stressed. New York Times bestseller. Connect the dots. Ben McAdoo, New York Times bestseller. How do we get there, folks?
Michael, you're writing a book right now. Why don't you...
Here's how I would frame this. I think Ben McAdoo, has achieved something that not a lot of people in the world have been able to achieve. Not Bill Belichick, not Vince Lombardi, not Tom Landry, not John Fox, not Sean Payton, which is going from a giant assistant
I thought I was
going to
say use a can of hair gel every day.
No, go from a giant assistant to a giant head coach. So the title of the book is How I Beat Belichick, How I Beat Landry, How I Beat Lombardi, right? And then you just go into your how your career evolved from a small high school coach to where you got a job at Green Bay as an assistant quarterback, tight end coach. And, this whole model would be like unbelievable that you could show everybody that somewhere you can grow from.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Yep.
It's
the Ben McAdoo
People
story.
love survival stories.
So it would be on the sports shelves. It would be on the leadership, the how to improve yourself, inspirational shelf. It would be combining those 2 things, and the picture on the cover would just bring everybody in. It would be Ben standing there with the cheesecake menu, right?
Yeah.
And his hair slicked back in the
sweatpants on the sidelines for some reason,
and the sunglasses on. You got to have the sunglasses.
Yes.
He writes a book like Hillary Clinton called What Happened. And it's just an examination of how he was able to take a team with a bunch of talented guys and make them really bad. And we just call it What Happened. We put it on the politics. He's obviously very good at politics. He was able to get those jobs. Put it on the politics shelf. We put it on the sports shelf. I mean, it's a crossover book.
Not only is he good at getting
Same
the
cover,
job,
by the way. What happened?
Just for the record here, so we can make this. He not only is good at getting the job, he had the Giants convinced. He had the Eagles convinced.
Yeah.
That was their number 1 choice to be their head coach. So he had 2 teams fighting over him. So it's just not one. It was 2. Really well done. That could be how to become a head coach.
And how to
It's
get
kind of
paid. You gotta
Yeah.
when people are fighting over you. Come on, good job, Ben McAdoo.
What happened by Ben McAdoo? Tell me you're not buying that book.
I'm buying what had happened was with Ben McAdoo. First up, Jason Garrett.
Yeah, here we go. Clapper.
This is fun. These are my favorite people.
Tanya,
in
did
the
he
NFL.
rig this whole thing?
Yes, she did. Oh my goodness! And he's gonna sing a duet with the boss,
Oh my God.
Bruce Springsteen.
You would be really upset if Jason Garrett, the clapper, got to experience that life goal. I think it's pretty obvious. Jason Garrett's home on the Jersey Shore after he gets fired.
Is he from Jersey?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a big Jersey guy.
Went to Princeton. That's why he's smart.
That makes sense why he likes.
He
Duke.
loves Springsteen. He loves Springsteen certainly more than Lombardi does.
That's not
And
possible.
I'm just no one loves Springsteen more. That's not even a joke. Okay, so he's home with Jersey Shore, and he walks past Bruce Springsteen, who's going in to play the Stone Pony, and he says, "Let's do this." And they play all. Garrett's down in the dumps. They play all of the sad spring. They do all of Nebraska. They do My Hometown. They do the Jason Garrett Gets Fired medley at the Stone Pony. It's just those 2. Will Stevens there too. It's those 3.
Yeah. I mean, look, he grew up down by the Jersey Shore, so that's obviously Springsteen loves to go work out at like certain clubs, certain like LA fitness type places along the Jersey Shore.
Gold's Gym.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called, Joel's Gym or not, but he goes there and he goes in his jeans and his boots and he's got the Italian T-shirt, the ones. And he goes in there and he lifts. So maybe he runs into Jason Garrett working out there, and he remembers the redhead from, hey, man, I think I saw you on
Garrett's
TV.
in clapping class.
Garrett's in complete, moisturized his hands first.
Yeah.
And then, they can go up there and sing New York Serenade, or they can do 1 step up, 2 steps back. It would be the ideal thing. If that ever happened, I'm committing suicide the next day.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. All right, next up, Antonio Brown, the wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
There we go.
And the scenario is, wow, that's pretty good. The next NFL commissioner. How do we get there, Lombardi?
Oh, wow.
Well, I worked for Al Davis, and Al Davis used to say to me all the time, we can't let Park Avenue run the league. The further, the more Park Avenue influences the NFL, the people that don't know anything about the NFL, if they start influencing the NFL, if they don't know anything about football, we're going to in trouble. I think we're seeing a little bit of that now. So Antonio Brown has a feel for everything. So he can appeal to the millennials like yourself. He can appeal to the generation who love football. He can also appeal to people where he's overcome this, I'm a late round draft pick and I've achieved this incredible stardom and I'm one of the best receivers in football. So he's touched on everything, every possible element of it. And it would be good for the team because he would bring in some enthusiasm to the league. He would be able to show that celebrations aren't a bad thing. Because look how much fun we're having. I mean, the bowling alley thing this week in Philadelphia, to me, I mean, I'm laughing about it still, watching them all fall down. So it was good. I think we need more of that. And Antonio Brown would be able to deliver on that promise. I think he would be an ideal candidate.
Totally agree with you. Here's how it happens. Number one, I agree that the fun element has been missing from the NFL. The celebrations are in. Antonio Brown is a great celebrator. He would bring fun to 345 Park Avenue. That's the first thing. The second thing is look how accessible he is. He got in trouble with his team because he put the post-game celebration on Facebook Live, even though it was a closed locker room, and he got to, everyone got to see some of Tomlin's closed post-game speech. Well, we like that now. The NFL needs to see accessibility. Why can't we have every NFL meeting on Park Avenue on Facebook Live? Just stream it.
Why not?
Snapchat, all that stuff. Antonio Brown is the king of social media. Name him commissioner. He brings everybody in. We get all the millennials in. Tate likes the NFL again.
You get your army
I
in. You
always
get the
loved it.
millennial army in.
Proximity matters. He's been close to the commissioner already this year. We saw him have a meeting with him.
Yeah.
Maybe he's making a play. Alex Smith.
Well dressed too.
Well dressed, man. Alex Smith. Also, well, actually, we don't know if he's well dressed. Time Man of the Year. Alex Smith, the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, is now the Time Man of the Year.
Well, they called him and they said he's probably going to be it. And he said, give me a minute, I have to throw a 6-yard pass. And then he called them back and said, I'll do it. Okay.
Great.
And so Alex Smith's going to get it for a couple of reasons. Number one, just an incredible life transformation, as you said about Ben McAdoo. Alex Smith's inspiring in the sense that he didn't throw more than a 10-yard pass for the last 10 seasons, and he became a deep threat passer for a month. That's all it took. Second thing is, is just, Alex Smith's a great guy. He's a humanitarian. He binge watches television shows. I've talked to him about Game of Thrones for hours upon hours. He's the modern American man.
Yeah, I think Tom.
Also, there's no other candidates. America's bad right now.
Look, Springsteen was on the cover of Time. Time loves this guy who goes from hardworking, overcoming things, and Alex Smith is the perfect example of it. Hardworking, wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school, goes to Utah, becomes the first overall pick, and then has a bad career in San Francisco, and he overcomes that and gets traded to Kansas City. It's really the Horatio Alger story of a guy who's really started out with nothing and has built this something into the perfect guy for Time magazine. Much better than the other candidate that they were allegedly considering.
I was going to say it had to be something to do with like tornadoes come to Kansas and he has like a Wizard of Oz moment. I don't know. That's the only way I can think of it, but I don't know. Tom Brady.
Have you ever watched The Wizard of Oz?
Oh, I love it. Come on.
Good.
I'm from the bottom of the map. Tom Brady, and what does he do? He's going to win. Well, wow, real crazy stuff here. He's going to win the 2018 Super Bowl, Tom Brady.
Oh, boy.
I don't know.
Can we pass? Is there a pass button?
Let's pass on that one.
Okay.
The answer is yes.
Yes, the answer, if that happens, I'm out.
The connected dots on that one is that they play the Super Bowl.
DB Flacco, Joe Flacco, our boy, and he's going to win an Academy Award. Well, he's not going to win. He's going to be a nominee for the Academy Award.
Look, Flacco has done a good job of maximizing his career, and he understands that it's important to play a certain role on a team. He's been a good team guy, and I think Hollywood could write this story about a young quarterback from Delaware who was drafted in the middle of the first round, who went on and threw and had 4 playoff games, unlike any other playoff game in the history. And Michael Lewis would write the screenplay on how this happened, how the Baltimore Ravens overcame all these obstacles and won a Super Bowl when they were first only thought of. And the only man to play Joe Flacco or DB Flacco would be Joe Flacco. So I can see that.
We got away from athletes playing themselves. Jackie Robinson played himself. Muhammad Ali played himself. The Joe Flacco story, you just got to have Joe Flacco.
Why can't Ben Affleck play Joe Flacco? And that's his comeback story. Affleck, Flacco. All right. We got some more questions from the people. Ringer NFL. Keep it going. We got this one at the top of the page from Olsen, though. That's a great name. Not Elizabeth Olsen. The Broncos clearly do not have a quarterback, but would a free agent QB still consider the defense a reason to sign with the team? Kevin.
No. I'm just kidding. Von Miller recently complained about the fact that he's wasting a prime career season. I think generally, they still have the talent there. I think the secondary needs to figure it out, but I think they're, 5th in the NFL in yards per play? I think they're still a quarterback away. I mean, we see how many incomplete teams. Look at the damn Jaguars. We see how many incomplete teams can make runs in this league. All you need is a couple pieces like Denver has, and then you have on offense. I know Demaryius Thomas is coming under some heat right now, but if you're a good quarterback like somehow a Case Keenum, that's a realistic option to win now.
Yeah, I think Denver has to change. I think Denver could be, Vance Joseph could be one and done, but it's still an attractive job. And I think John Elway sitting there as the president, he takes a step back and lets the head coach actually operate. And then they go out and get Kirk Cousins to go along with that defense and the running game. I think if he would have hired Kyle Shanahan and left Wade Phillips there, I don't think they would be in this mess right now, but he wouldn't do that. So now he's bad on defense, bad on offense. I think if they do that, look, they're still the Denver Broncos. They're still a national team. They've got a great fan base. They could allure any quarterback. And if Kirk Cousins is out there, I would not be shocked if the Denver Broncos ended up with Kirk Cousins, because Elway, the one thing he's proven, he can't draft a quarterback, but he can recruit one there. He got Peyton Manning. I think he can get Kirk Cousins there.
Speaking of quarterbacks, we got another fan question. Who do you think is going to be the starting quarterback in Buffalo next season?
Oh, my gosh. It can't be Tyrod. Tyrod has to move on. He's another, I think he could be a fit in Denver.
I think he'd be a really good quarterback for Denver. But I think he'd have to be with somebody who could run that Kubiak offense, because that's really what he does well. And I know he's got Rick Dennis in there, but Rick's more of an offensive line coach than he is a passing game coach. So it limits a little bit of what he does in terms of the game planning. But I agree. I think Tyrod could do that. It'll be interesting. Case Keenum could be.
Maybe they draft a guy. It can't be Nathan Peterman. Nathan Peterman has to leave town.
Yeah, I don't think it could be Nathan Peterman
Come
either.
on, Nathan.
But they're going to have to draft a guy. I don't see the solution. I mean, that's the problem. There's so many teams that need quarterbacks.
They could have just kept Tyrod, by the way. If they
it could be A.J. McCarron.
Yeah, there you go.
It could be A.J. McCarron. I mean, there's no lock that, there's no lock that Hugh's going to, even he's 1-25 or 1-26.
Yeah, 1-26.
I mean, they're going to change everything in Cleveland, right? So there's no lock that Cleveland's going to be interested.
No.
So maybe it's A.J. McCarron.
AJ McCarron has a great publicist, PR team, agent, whatever he's got going.
He's
good
got
for him.
Catherine Webb.
There you go.
Gosh, you're right. We will be right back. We're going to play a fun game called Would You Rather. But first, this. Welcome to GM Street, part of the Ringer Podcast Network. I am Tate Frazier.
You got to come up with a name. Like, it's got to be, Madonna had Madonna. Prince had Prince. Your nickname should be Golden Tate Frazier. It's the illegal formation, Tate.
We got a logo back here, and it's an illegal
unbalanced.
formation.
It's unbalanced.
What do we do? Do we take a flag for
John
this?
Harbaugh would complain about this formation right here.
And I'm not picking on McAdoo, but I am picking on McAdoo.
Yeah, Adam Vinatieri ripped my heart out when I was a kid, just like Justin Timberlake ripped Janet Jackson's nipple that night.
It's really painful to watch Bortles. It's really painful to watch. I mean, Andy Dalton's colorblind. I'm convinced he's colorblind.
Yes, Cameron Newton. I call him Cameron when he plays this way. It's when he
He's just
struggles
love
and
it.
he's immature. I call him Cam. But
I
when
was
he's a
disappointed
grown
in
man,
his
he's Cameron.
wardrobe today. I thought he was. I mean, I
No,
like
that's
the hat.
Cam Newton.
When he goes back to pass, everybody in the stadium holds their breath because they think he's going to throw it to the other team. How good is? Do we really know? What's that Simmons line he always talks about?
Are we sure they're good?
Are we sure they're good? Yes, thank you, Tate Frazier.
To hear more of this episode or any episode of GM Street, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. 3, 2, 1. Phones down, guys. Welcome back.
Well, you wanted to make
People were tweeting
You want to
about.
make this interactive.
I know,
I'm following your instructions.
People were tweeting agreeing with you that they all want to work for Kirk Cousins.
Yes, because we all want to get paid in this life. Welcome back to 3 and Out. We're playing a game called Would You Rather. And basically the whole point is we're going to have a game that you could watch.
This is
or
rigged.
you
This
can
is
do
rigged.
something else.
Yeah.
Would you rather? First up, we have watch the 49ers versus the Bears or watch Floribama Shore. And for people that don't know about Floribama Shore, which
Jersey
I
Shore.
can't believe that's real, it is a new MTV show, very similar and akin to Jersey Shore, where
That Jersey
well.
Shore is not different than the Jersey Shore I'm from. I can tell you that right now.
Are you going to watch 49ers Bears over this?
If Jimmy Garoppolo's the quarterback, I'm going to watch. I mean, that to me was like that. That was like pretty impressive. He comes in off the bench, cold, loosens up, throws a touchdown pass. I mean, to me, I don't know. Josh McDaniels didn't take the 49er job. He had it first last year because he was concerned that even though they were talking about giving him complete autonomy to run the franchise, that he felt like maybe they weren't going to actually do that. And by them not playing Garoppolo, it makes me feel like they're tanking for the pick as opposed to trying to install the culture. Like if Garoppolo's not the starting quarterback against Chicago and they put C.J. Beathard back in there with barely, with it coming off the injury, like I'm not sure I'm not watching that.
Tell Nielsen, Floribama Shore. Mike Lombardi's watching.
I
What
have
about
a
you,
question, Mike. How is the Jersey Shore different, this show different from your experience on the Jersey Shore?
Well, so the Jersey Shore up north is like, there's the town I grew up in is dry. So there's no bars. There's no, it was founded by the Methodists. It has it was the Sunday Blue Laws. That Jersey Shore is more New York. See, Jersey's like 2 states, right? You take Trenton and go straight across. Everything north of Trenton's New York. Everything south of Trenton's Philadelphia. So I live south of Trenton. That would be more of a Philadelphia type show. That would be Joe Flacco.
You never met the situation.
No. Joe Flacco vacations in Avalon, a little town there. So like that's kind of like DB's there. In case you ever want to
DB,
see
we should go find him.
Just to follow up on that, the answer for me is the Floribama Shore. I'm from Florida. My whole life has been the Floribama Shore.
You got viewers, MTV. We have a next one. These are the Week 13 matchups, we should say. I'm just not making these games up. The Colts and the...
They could figure that out.
Who knows with people these days. Are we going to watch the Colts versus the Jags, or are we going to go see Daddy's Home 2, starring Will Ferrell and Dirk Diggler?
Colts Jags.
Can I go see Murder on the Orient?
You don't want to see that.
No?
Bad reviews.
Really?
Yeah.
Bad movie.
Yeah. You saw it?
No. All right, we got one more. That was a quick answer from everyone. Daddy's Home 2, sorry. All right, we have watch the Vikings versus the Falcons. That'll be a good game,
It's a good game.
Or attend the royal wedding
Oh.
between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
Look, I have nothing royal about me at all. I'm going to watch the football game completely. That's an easy one. Kevin, you got to get up. Then you have to bring a gift, Kevin.
I got to
What
bring
would
a
you
gift.
get the royal
I don't
family?
have enough money.
What do you do?
I
If you accept that and go to there, now you have to give them
buy
a gift.
a nicer suit.
You got to buy a nice. And there's so many problems. You know that Mike Leach video that he was kind of giving advice to, that thing could apply to this right here. Like there's so many ways if you go to this wedding. It's just layers upon layers upon layers. You could just get yourself in trouble. You're better off just watching football.
I agree. Also, it's a long flight.
Yeah, but the one thing about
Heathrow is a great airport. Just flying to London.
Humble brag. Tate Frazier,
Come
humble
on.
brag.
Come on. All right. We got one big question, then we're going to get out of here. Kevin, what's your one big question for
My
the
big
NFL world to
question
know?
is, what are the Atlanta Falcons? Because we saw them last year. They're the most efficient offense maybe in NFL history. They were incredible. They scored at record rates. This year, they look so incompetent for long stretches of the season, but they're starting to turn it around. I'm really intrigued this week because they've got the Minnesota Vikings, one of the top defenses of the NFL. Their ability to pressure in creative ways is really interesting to me. And so what do the Falcons look like against a really good defense? Are they an NFC title game contender? I don't know. I think we're going to find out a lot about them. I think that Julio Jones is as big a force as you can get right now. I think that Matt Ryan is getting back to his 2016 ways. I don't think you're going to get into a situation where they look like they were last year. There is no Kyle Shanahan. That the magic is gone there. But I'm really intrigued to see what they look like going forward because they have this game, then they have the Saints twice in 3 weeks. This is a very crucial stretch for the defending NFC champions.
What about you? Your big question.
My big question is the Seattle Seahawks. Are they going to be done this week, losing to let Philadelphia come into their own stadium and beat them like Atlanta did?
Yep.
Knock them to 7-5 and lose another home game. I think what we're seeing now is it could be the changing of the guard in the NFC. I mean, if Seattle loses this game, then they're no longer the dominant force in the NFC. And the whole thing up in the Northwest is Seattle, the Legion of Doom, and all that. I think it ends, and I think Philadelphia becomes now Philly. If they win this game, it'll be the second team they beat with a winning record. So it gives them some more cachet because they're already planning the parade in Philadelphia. It's already done. So, I think that would be, to me, that's what I'm looking forward to. I think that's why it's such a big game. The crowd noise, watching how Seattle handles it, because, frankly, Pete Carroll's going to have to come up with something to win this game, and it's not going to be that he's the better team because Philly's clearly the better team.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching 3 and Out. Kevin Clark, Mike Lombardi, Tate Frazier. We will be back next Tuesday, same time. We'll see you then.